Hello. Here we are again in Google Earth, and I'll show you distances here that connects two ancient sites. And that's Giza, the Giza Plateau with the pyramids right here, and Angkor Wat in Cambodia, here, with the temples of Angkor Wat. There are four distances here, two to each site. There are two mountain distances to Angkor Wat, and those are from the two big mountains in Europe. Here we have Mount Elbrus, number one in Europe. And over here we have Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Central and Western Europe. And those are two distances to Angkor Wat then. And to Giza, there are also two mountain distances. The shorter one here is from Mount Everest to Giza. It's very peak. And the longer one is from Punsakiyaya to Giza, the highest mountain in the continent of Oceania here. And we'll compare these distances, one distance at a time, to these two sites. And first we'll look at the distances from Mount Everest to Giza and Mount Elbrus to Angkor Wat. So I'll take away these other two for now. We'll compare these two and see that there is a specific ratio that orders these two distances. And that's the ratio between the kilometer and the mile. And then we'll have a look at the other two and compare them and see that exactly the same ratio orders those two distances. So these distances is evidence that the creators of Giza and Angkor Wat were perfectly aware of the location of these mountain peaks and the location of the other ancient site. So let's start by measuring the distance from Mount Everest to Giza and then Mount Elbrus to Angkor Wat. So this is the peak of Mount Everest here, and we'll measure this distance in miles. Previously, I've measured this one, shown you this one in yards to Giza, but now it's in miles here. And here's the very peak, and we'll measure from there to Giza. And the distance here is to the Great Pyramid. But just when we reach the pyramid here, this is the pyramid. We have 3,347.16 miles, 3347.16 in the measure tool here. And if we exactly double those numbers, we get 6,694.32, 6694.32. And that's the distance we'll get from Mount Elbrus to Angkor Wat. So let's now measure that, Mount Elbrus to Angkor Wat. And here we have the very peak of Mount Elbrus. And let's fly to Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Here is Angkor Wat, the central temple we have here, and then the island surrounding it. And this distance, 6,694.32 kilometers. We have it right here, the farthest end, if you will, of the temple here. You can see the numbers here in the map length distance. 6694.32 kilometers. So the exact ratio here between these two distances is as 2 kilometers to 1 mile, exactly, when we compare these two. 2 kilometers here, Mount Elbrus to Angkor Wat, and 1 mile here, Mount Everest to Giza and the Great Pyramid. Let's compare the other two distances, and there we'll find exactly the same ratio, 2 kilometers to 1 mile. So I'll add now those two distances instead. And these are the distances from Mont Blanc in Western Europe to Angkor Wat, and from Punsakiyaya, Oceania's highest mountain, to Giza. Let's start measuring in miles from Mont Blanc to Angkor Wat. In a second or two, it will clear up here. So here we have the very highest peak we find in Google Earth on Mont Blanc, and let's fly from there to Angkor Wat. And the distance in miles we're looking for here is to the opposite end of the island, if you will, on this end of the island surrounding Angkor Wat. 5,895.75 miles we have here in the middle row. 5895.75. Right here. If we double those numbers, we get 11,791.5. And that's the distance we'll find in kilometers from Punsakjaya to Giza. So let's fly to Punsakjaya now and measure to Giza in kilometers. And here we have the very peak of Punsakjaya. And we'll move to Giza from there. And this distance is to just when we reach here, just when we reach the Great Pyramid, we find, you can see it in the middle row here, 11,791.5 kilometers. Exactly a doubling of the numbers we had in miles from Mont Blanc to Angkor Wat. 11,791.5 in kilometers. So there we have it, that again, the ratio between 1 mile and 2 kilometers also orders these two distances, to Angkor Wat and then to Giza. Mont Blanc to Angkor Wat is 1 mile, and Punsakjaya to Giza is 2 kilometers. Exactly the ratio we had in these two other distances. These ones. So this should this is then evidence of what I stated in the beginning, that the creators of Angkor Wat knew the exact location of these mountains here, Mont Blanc and Mount Elbrus, and the creators of Giza knew the exact location of Everest, Mount Everest and Punsakjaya, and they also knew the exact location of the other ancient site. And these two mountain distances show these correlations show that. There is clear evidence, and the evidence is in then the kilometer-mile ratio ordering these distances in the way I showed you here.